a lot more going on there or promoting, such as the Tulip Festival or the dairy capital, so or the ice cream capital. So that is exciting to see that together we are really promoting ourselves. And with the COVID impact that started in March, the Tourism Committee really worked hard to try and promote our businesses, our sites, our attractions, to give people activities, to socially distance, but yet be able to get out of the house and do something. And so what that spurred was generating or bringing back to life some tours and events we had done in the past years and putting them to work for what the times now. And what we discovered is for quite a while, and I've been coming up here and talking to you about it, is creating a website for the tourism part of Bryant County, and that's what exactly we've done the last few months. And I did send an email out last week. We finally got it launched, and it really, I think, does a really good job of giving people something to do. We've also started our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and it all works really well together. We have 13-day trip itineraries, we have tours, we have some videos that, thank you to Bryant County Bell for producing those videos. We were able to put those up there. We also have links to resources because we understand we can't put everything out there. We don't have the manpower or the time to keep it consistent. So we're linking to our local chambers and the Travel Iowa sites, because that's where you can also find those resources and things to do in your communities. So we are going to continue to work on those. We'll have some winter ones coming up, and just kind of keep on top of that and looking and promoting what we have here in Bryant County, because those tax revenues are really important. And with that, I put a book in front of you, and it's Fast Facts for Tourism. And it kind of breaks down how tourism is an economic driver for Iowa, and the amount of jobs it creates, and the spending that traveler, over $9 billion in domestic traveler spending, our state receipts of $540 million, over 70,000 travel-related jobs. Those are huge, huge numbers. And something as part of economic development, we look at business recruitment and attraction, we look at agribusiness, and sometimes we kind of overlook that tourism is also a part of the economic driver. So we've really embraced that in Bryant County and trying to, use that too as a part of our resources and tools. There's one example in here that I really would want to point out, and it is page 9. And it's about the school start date, and they did a case study in Okoboji. And when you read those numbers, at $1.7 million per day in the Okoboji area is spent. That's amazing. Those are huge tax revenues. And, we really want to point out tourism does not compete with education. It helps pay for it. So those early school start dates really do reduce the numbers of those domestic travelers to our area, which then leads to a decrease in consumer spending. So that is why the tourism industry pushes for a later school start date. Also, in addition to the website, the day trip itineraries, and the tours, we've also redesigned our tourism brochure because we are out of those. We do get requests from the rest stops and other industries in the state of Iowa. We do ship these out quite a bit throughout the year. So those are being worked up right now. And also, we reproduced some tear-off maps, and we are redesigning those right now too. So those will be coming out here in the next year and going to print. So we have those coming out too. So the Tourism Committee has worked really hard the last few months to really promote Bryant County, and I just wanted to come up and share that with you today. Also, I want to mention Travel Iowa. We do have a link on our website. If you go to Travel Iowa, it's a free resource. Anybody can promote their community, their site, their attraction, their festival. We just really need to get people out there to put that information out there. It's free. You list it. They also put it in the Travel Iowa guide that goes out to the communities. And I know Conservation has their information out there. There might be 1 or 2 community events, but otherwise, that's it for Bryant County. So we really need to promote and get our chambers to start putting their information out there. And then one final thing is, we've been a member of Western Iowa Tourism for as long as I've been here. And the county pays a portion of those dues so that we get a reduced cost, and so Bryant County Tourism is a member of that. There are 3 regions in the state of Iowa. There's Eastern, Western, and Central. And just recently, a group in Eastern Iowa has formed, calling themselves ITIP, and they have 12 members, and they recruited 2 members from Central Iowa and 2 members from Western Iowa, and that would be the Okoboji area and Council Bluffs. And what they want to do is do away with the regions in the state of Iowa and have one organization. They're requesting the state of Iowa to fund their organization instead of the regions like currently, and then they would market the entire state. Central Iowa and Western Iowa Tourism, we are against that because we really don't feel Eastern Iowa could probably do a very good job of marketing the Bryant County. We just know it's better for us to have control promoting ourselves. So that's kind of happening right now, and so I just kind of wanted to ask the supervisors to continue supporting Western Iowa Tourism, and if you get any information from the new organization, it has not been supported by Central and Western Iowa. So,
And you said they're calling themselves what?
ITIP.
ITIP?
Yeah. It's a lowercase I, capital T, then lowercase ip.
Are they, so Eastern Iowa is all in favor of changing to that?
Yeah, Eastern Iowa is the driving force behind it, and then some of the larger chambers, such as Council Bluffs, and who would be in our Western Iowa area. And so, really, it's chamber-driven, and we just don't feel that it would be, they'd be very good at marketing us as a local rural community.
Okay.
How far does Western Iowa tourism go south of interstate?
We go all the way south,
2
down
borders, okay.
to Council Bluffs, and then I'm trying to think how far east we go. And I can't
On
tell you
the
that.
map? No.
Yeah.
You mentioned in economic development newsletter you sent out that with the day trip or itineraries that you're going to have PDFs that you can download and stuff too?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yes, so we are also the same person who we have designing, who does our design work. They did, and that would be Kirsten Ilya. She designed our first brochure and our maps. She's doing the redesign work right now before it goes to the printers, and then she's also designing, putting our nature itineraries into PDF format so people could download them and print them. And so we have all that coming out here, hopefully in the next month or so.
I noticed on some other county websites that they have the PDFs that they're highlighted in blue or something, and then you just click on them and you can. I like to go through a lot of color to go ahead and say.
But you know, they really are
And
nice.
it shows you your trails, and yeah, you know,
Yeah.
that way when you jump in the car, you got that to take along with you, and it shows all that way you don't miss anything, I guess. Stay on your trip, and yeah.
And then our website is mobile friendly, and then also with, we did change the economic development website to be more cohesive, so there's a familiar look between the economic development website, the tourism website, so we just have that brand familiarity, so people already know it's a Bryant County. So, went through that kind of fast. Is there, anybody have questions? Just want to thank you for your support and your continued support with the tourism efforts in Bryant County and our membership of Western Iowa Tourism, because also because of your membership, we can join at a reduced cost, but I think other organizations such as the Sheldon Chamber, Bryant County Conservation, other organizations in Bryant County that can join at a reduced cost. That's all I have. And Dennis and Sharon, I'm sorry, you're gonna hear the same yeah, today at the board meeting. Oh, and thank you, Dennis. This is Dennis's last meeting at the OCDC board. So thank you. We appreciate your
Thank Thank you.
support partnership over the years, and then we'll have, I think, Dan on next.
It's been 5 years.
Doesn't seem like it.
Not really, not very,
Fast.
but
No, I'm the one.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
thank you.
I see that, I see that.
I'm still hung up on this other group. What's their motivation for
It says
starting?
Why?
it's trying to
What
connect.
do
They wanted they're meeting with Debbie Durham. And Debbie Durham, the only response that she's put out so far that we know is that the state will only fund one organization, so whether it's the new ITIP or the regions, but the only thing we can figure out the motivation is it's the larger CDBGs who they had drastic cuts this year because of COVID and the decrease in the tourism industry, which funds those organizations. So I think this is just a way for them to kind of capture that money and maybe be stronger for themselves. We really don't quite understand it.
But then that would be them reallocating money to each of the counties?
No, then we just go directly to that group.
Right. So forcing us to either join them or not fund it. Or they don't want other people in.
No, they're opening it up to anyone to become a member. That's why I was curious if they sent an invoice out yet. Because the state's only going to fund one group, so they'll get all the state allocations and
Trying to
market
connect
the
to
state.
them.
So they really want to be the marketing arm of Iowa. Yeah.
That's right.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. To what benefit other than to only market themselves? Because otherwise it's just creating a lot of work.
They would
Small group.
hire their own director to lead the group.
Just starts a lot of questions.
Yeah.
What is their beef with the way it is now? That would be the question, my question. And I can't speak for them, but
Yes.
it just,
There's rumors and behind the scenes
Sure.
talk, but nothing that,
Right.
safe, not safe. Yeah.
That's another frustrating thing to add to your plate right now.
It is, but I think, I think because Central Iowa and Western Iowa have both agreed to not join it, and our leadership has had meetings with Debbie Durham, putting forward our thoughts and statistics on why we don't want to do it. So we feel comfortable going ahead, that we're still going to continue the way we are.
Perfect.
good,
Makes me feel better knowing you're feeling comfortable.
Yes, I am. Yes.
good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. See you next month, probably.
Brought my computer along in case they don't make the shelf back shelf by noon
Okay.
to use the county Wi-Fi. Sure.
Do that once in a while anyway.
Yeah. I got a new phone and I don't have my contact information, so I don't have my.
This chat was previously online.
The west door. I talked to Jared yesterday and also to Randy and asked them if they'd have any issues if I came to you and talked about opening the west door. You know, currently it's the staff entrance only. And neither of them had any problem with opening it back up. I think now that the weather's getting nastier, maybe it's time, if you're okay with that.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Yep.
So go ahead
And we shouldn't have that mass rush of people coming in from when we just opened, so.
right. Some of us have been, if we see somebody, if we're coming up the walk, we let them in anyway, so.
Understood.
As I was coming this morning, some guy tried that door and then had to walk around,
Yeah.
like right as I was walking up.
So I don't know if you want a motion on that, or,
Do we need a motion on that?
I don't know, Jared has a statement that we'll put out on the website if we're gonna do that.
I'll motion that we open the west door to public.
I will support.
We have a motion by Nancy, support by Sherry, to approve the opening of the west door to the public. Anything more statement on that?
We'll enter into a modified phase 2 of the courthouse reopening plan to allow visitor access by the west door. Oh, I should have written that down.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. You said Jared's gonna put it on the website.
He gave me the statement, so I can just go ahead and put that out there.
Modified phase 2,
Yeah.
first modification.
Well,
This is like the third one.
yeah, when we put the screening,
Yep. I said that
Yeah.
was-
that was
Oh,
one.
okay, that was one.
Yeah.
And maybe we should put that masks are still required.
Good call.
Yeah.
See, our numbers are heading in the right direction though,
Yep.
so. I did see a deal on national TV with the COVID, when they put us South Dakota, Iowa. And a big spike like most places did, and now it's actually coming back down again. They claim our 3 states are nearing what you might call herd immunity, you know, just because of the, and this is just what I saw on TV, so
Yeah.
take it for what it's worth.
Population that we have and
Yep.
other factors.
And if you throw that in with the starting the vaccinations,
Yeah.
They had something on there last night that even if you have the injections, you still should wear a mask for 2 years.
well, I saw some things too, which
I don't know about that one.
I don't either. I
So
don't
with
either.
the first round of the vaccine, then people still, you have a second shot then in a couple weeks too, so.
Sure.
Right.
So then you still have to be careful, I suppose, because you're not probably fully covered.
Oh, yeah.
What is the time frame between?
In my head, it was like 6 weeks, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
That's gonna be some interesting logistics to get that second dose everywhere we,
I think that's.
4 weeks.
yeah.
4 weeks.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, we're at 16.6% that
Yeah.
they're sending on us now, so.
We were as high as 26 point something,
I think so.
weren't we, or was it higher?
It was almost 30.
Was it almost 30? Okay.
Almost 30. It was getting up there.
And then it came way down and kind of bounced a little bit.
Every time I thought we were getting bad, I'd look at Jones County and feel better.
Was it Jones County?
They're on the way east side of the state. They were over 40%.
Oh.
It's
You ready?
9:27. It's time to go on the rate increase for communications operator Tara Road and also for Sheriff Deputy Jeff Corbett.
For Tara, she, as you said, is a communications operator, and the sheriff is recommending, she's completed her 6 months probation period, so he's recommending that she go to $24 per hour effective November 26th. And I did do these as 2 separate motions at the end.
I would make a motion to approve the rate increase for Tara Road.
Support.
Motion by Dan, second by Dennis to approve the increase for Tara Road. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And then we have Sheriff Deputy Jeff Corver, and the sheriff is recommending that he go to 76% of the sheriff's salary effective December 1st. So that would put him at $68,817.24.
How long's he been here? What is that? What? Is that the final step up for him or?
Well, he came in when Dean left.
That's right.
Maybe
So he should be at his final step up there,
probably one more,
right?
yeah.
One more? Okay.
I'll motion if we just step up.
I was for it.
Motion by Nancy, support by Sherry, to approve 4% increase. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Seems kind of funny that the sheriff's deputy has to be on probation.
I never thought of it that way.
Sure, that's it.
Morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We have a tile crossing, David Reek, I believe it is. I haven't looked at it, but Todd has, said there's nothing special about it. This guy's got a $3,400 estimate, so we'll just, I recommend you approve it and we'll put it there, so.
Okay. You know where that is?
It's in section 4 of Omega.
I would motion to approve.
Now second.
Motion by Dennis, supported by Nancy to approve the crossing of
Dave Break,
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
That's really about all I have, because I haven't been around enough to know what's going on. Unless you folks have something for me.
Nope. Thank you guys for putting that tile crossing in quickly last week when you guys wanted to kind of keep going. That really worked good. You guys are out there.
Yeah, I don't think that's all we got a half a dozen guys that are capable of doing it. So.
Yeah.
Yep, that was a big project that went for quite a few miles, so they're.
And I'm gonna spend Thursday and Friday in Sioux.
I did drop off a flyer the other day on the mower tractors.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
they don't make them, they don't put them on the bigger frame tractors anymore. Everything
I don't
is
think
on
they
that.
ever have, to tell you the truth.
I don't think so either.
Well, our mower's on that 7430, which is, you know, these are on like a 6430, so that, you know, that 6115 is a smaller frame. But yeah, they have a whole different class now, how they're.
I've been trying to get a hold of a salesman from that outfit, and I called him again this morning. I don't know, that's usually pretty unusual.
The one I drove by Tiger, that's up on the interstate, and then this Diamond is on 60th Street.
The same guy started both companies, and he
Okay.
sold one out to Tiger, then waited his 5 years and started
I started Diamond, okay. But because they do put them on, there were some Massey's on the lot there, and there were some blue New Hollands on the lot there, and there were some John Deere's. I have some pictures of them, and what they kind of look. They gave me a block. I was there after 5. I was up at Super.
Were you at the Diamond or the Tiger?
I was up at Tiger. That's up by Super.
We've always, Northwest Iowa's been a big Diamond for years, and hardly anybody does Tiger anymore, but I don't know why. I mean, I thought Diamond probably did a better job.
Because the one on the lot there, they got a flail mower that's all PTO driven instead of a hydraulic motor, and they didn't have any displays outside, so they couldn't really look real close, but. Well,
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott, you need this, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it, just won't take it. Sit along this merry way. Yeah, thank you.
And plug it to me.
Yesterday,
That's
I
what
got
took
out
there.
there. It freezes outside.
Is there a?
Going very well.
Good.
Before I get started, kind of ties in with what we're doing today. You know, we're trying to find another commissioner for our board. And we also want to kind of honor the commissioner that retired. So we put this picture together and we have signed it. And we would like all the board members to sign it also, if that's okay. So, I don't know if you want me to pass it around or you'd rather be more comfortable just,
That is a good idea.
Wayne Shimmer is the commissioner that retired.
Dwayne, yes?
He was from Sutherland. He served 20 years on the commission.
So,
And then we also, if you were willing, we were wondering if you wouldn't possibly make a motion and just recognize him for his 20 years of service on the Veterans Commission, so that it would be in the minutes. I don't know if that's a possibility.
I would love to make that motion to recognize Dwayne Shimmer for his, how many years?
20.
20 years of being a commissioner in the VA.
I will support that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
No, thank you very much. Dwayne will probably still be serving, but he has some health issues, and he also had to relocate to Clay County to be closer to his family. I'm not sure what the procedure is. Do you want to see the names that we looked at, or do you? We interviewed 3 candidates last Thursday for the position. I think all 3 candidates were excellent. Any one of them would have been a good choice to fill the position. But we actually do have a recommendation. So, and that person's name is Roger Jurak. And the last name is J is in Juliet, U is in uniform, R is in Romeo, A is in Alpha, C is in Charlie, K is in Kilo. And I had to look at that military alphabet myself.
I would have never known your Jay.
I was thinking this morning, well, which one is K? I couldn't think of K.
Might I ask who the 3?
The 3 are?
I think I got enough.
Got maybe 5 or 6 copies.
Thank you.
So who did the interview?
The other 2 commissioners,
Okay.
and I sat in, I did ask a couple of questions, but mainly it was the other 2 commissioners. Dwayne Wallstrom is our chairman from Sheldon, and Joshua Hicks from Primgar here are our other 2 members. We are only a 3-member board. Some counties have a 5-member board. Well, Bryant County's 3.
Roger lives just inside
Just
the county.
inside
I
the,
know who you're talking
yeah,
about.
I got the plat map out, and
Gotcha.
he's just within the boundaries.
Quarter mile roughly?
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
half mile.
He worked as an election official
Yeah.
for me in the general. He called me up one day and
Did
said,
I have enough of those copies of those? Did everyone get them?
I think so. He seemed a really nice guy. I really enjoyed
Right.
him.
All 3 of these gentlemen interviewed very well. I think any one of them would have been more than capable.
Sure.
You know, I think any one would be a good choice. We just thought that Roger was probably going to be the best bet, the best candidate.
So we need to approve that, then, correct?
You need to appoint him.
Thank you so much.
I would make a motion to appoint Roger Durant as a VA commissioner.
Support.
We have a motion by Dan, support by Dennis to approve the appointment of Roger Jurak. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, so I can notify him and tell him that he is officially on the board? Or does he have to come see you or anything?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
Nope, he's on.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay.
That is very nice.
Yeah, that was Josh's idea.
Very nice.
It's, yeah, I think Dwayne will really appreciate it. Dwayne was in the Army, served during the Korean conflict, so I think it's very appropriate. So thank you all very much.
I think we have everybody on Zoom and be able to hear now. Those mics were turned off, but I think we should be good.
Hawk. Yeah, I think he misspoke there.
I will check those. Well, now they're not hearing anything, because now we're not talking. That was a terrible time to check.
Mine's staying on green now, so.
Mine is too. I'll check those again in a second to see if they're gonna stay working.
Those batteries really don't last long then, unless we're
No,
not
they-
getting them shut off.
I don't, yeah.
That should be too.
I check every week, but I don't know, is it used by anybody else?
We're better now, but maybe there's.
Not that I know of.
No, I'm a little concerned with that. Okay.
You said Hugh was on?
Yes. I can kind of see them.
It's amazing how you get used to seeing pictures, you get on so many Zoom meetings that.
Yeah.
Do a new share.
Yeah, Simpson meeting the other night, I was the only one that, oh, me and Brian Ball.
Okay.
Wanted a picture taken, I guess, so. It's hard to sit still and be attentive when you have an hour-long meeting. You gotta hold your hand ready.
When I had the old tablet we had, I park out front so I could get Wi-Fi. And then I just put the picture down on me in the courthouse. So,
Yeah. I was sitting in my chair and then you put the computer on your lap and then your legs get tired and then you want to move a little bit and then you kind of double your picture around and, and you almost need a stand or something that would be nice.
yeah.
Just at 3 meeting, I think it was harder than I thought. I got on 144, it was noon when I ordered it. So that was quite a long night, long meeting.
District 3, but
Supervisor ISAC meeting.
Isaac, okay. Oh, sure. That was about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I was looking up something and then I got the reminder. Did a deal last night on one of the news sources, that COVID deal now is, they have words.
Never mind, the only person they can hear is you.
Into certain
Who?
animals.
Barb.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Can they hear me?
Into the refrigerator.
Nancy?
Mink.
Oh, and the mink, yeah.
Yeah. And they're euthanizing a lot of mink in the Netherlands and different countries now for that reason. Maybe the beaver price now will come up on its own.
Well,
She did just say she heard you.
Okay.
the reason fall beavers aren't very good is because the pelts technically
They're not very good.
not until spring, are they? Will.
Charity? I don't know, or Barb, I don't know if Maris and speakers and
It'd be
stuff
nice
are
if
gone
the
and there's a
came up.
plug
Yeah.
loose here on the floor. I
Could
don't know if
happen.
it's supposed to go
Yeah,
somewhere,
possible.
if what?
Possible. I didn't know there's that many mink.
Well, that's my computer core that doesn't quite work.
Most,
No,
most
okay.
mink are
I didn't know if it was supposed to go
farm raised.
into a speaker
In case
or
I need
something.
that
Yeah,
quick.
it was millions.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, because all the mink and chinchilla farms around here are all.
they're all gone, yeah.
Yeah, but they're in other countries.
Yep. Well,
It might reach
getting
if I
meat
need
to
it.
feed 'em
Okay,
was a lot harder to process, and that was going towards other sources.
okay.
And that made it so it was, got too expensive to raise them.
So they use like meat scraps or something?
Meat scraps,
Okay.
yeah.
So how did they turn out on the beaver bounty surety? Did they bill? Yep.
I haven't got an update since last week Wednesday, so I'm not sure what Monday
Whoa.
brought in.
Where was it then?
We are getting close, we're about just shy of $4,000 spent of our
Okay.
5,000.
Because we saw that report, the last one I saw was late November, and, or November 3rd, the 7th, I guess it was. My God, we already had 90 or something like that then, or,
Yeah, we are getting very close to being done.
I kind of figured that, I told people, you better hurry.
it's done, it's done.
Yeah, so if they need 5 more and you've got 6, you might not get paid for one.
Your rights meeting, is that on Friday? then?
Typically on Thursdays,
On Thursday.
we don't meet in December, but it's typically the 3rd Thursday of the month.
Saying there's a lot of static and background noise on the Zoom today, so I don't know. But Dennis and Dan and John, you might have to pull your mics closer because they're not
Okay.
hearing.
Hopefully that'll be better.
What do you guys want to do about the last week in December? Do you want to meet the 29th?
I mean, if we do, I'm gonna have to be out of here by like 10.
Well, we meet again that next Monday, correct?
Right, you have to meet on the 4th.
I guess would hinge on you, is there any end of calendar year business we have to do?
No, we'll do everything on the 4th.
Everything on the 4th? Does everybody else think, I think we could probably. Agree not to meet on 29th?
The 29th?
Anybody else have opinions?
No problem with that, I see.
So we'll just skip that week?
Right.
Okay.
It is the 5th week again, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm worried if I don't take them out of the calendar, right when we're talking about that. I will show up here.
I don't utilize my phone like I should.
No reason to be, just something came up that.
If
we
something
have
did,
or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Anytime my calendar out today. I got a new phone and went to my Android to an iPhone. It's recorded.
Yeah. Understood.
I don't know how to make you bigger. Is he bigger on the screen
Okay.
rather than that little four?
Appreciate it.
Because my screen looks different than that screen.
I just got him, he's over on the side again. Let's see.
We got a big mess on South Third Avenue that we're trying to clean up.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it's unreal.
Commercial, residential?
Residential, yeah, it was a trailer that burned down in April, and he won't clean it up, he's been hauling more stuff in.
Oh, really?
And he's got a flower pot sitting out front that says, half an hour or something like that, it's in stencil.
Oh, the,
So,
Really?
that's gonna go real well today.
Oh.
Wow. Good
Oh,
luck.
this is better now, yeah, better now,
I'm asking him
Yeah.
if he needs this screen, if we need to make him a presenter.
yeah.
it's like, it's-
Yes. I can hear you clicking on the speaker, Dennis.
My phone
No, I think
It's
it's,
Barb.
Was it Barb?
I think it's
I
Barb.
was watching Dennis pushing it.
It was,
I think it's a phone number.
Okay.
Okay. He does not have, he won't make the presentation.
Okay.
Is he coming?
No, he's right there.
He's on there, okay.
he was there.
So I think if you're, he looks ready if you're ready.
Good morning, you.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
we
Yes.
Very good.
Good, because I can barely hear you, but I have my volume all the way up, so we'll see if I can't hear you, I may, they can repeat that, so I apologize in advance. All right, I think you have the letter in front of you, is that correct?
I do. I think I printed it.
They should, I just sent it out to him again, so if Nancy
Okay.
wants to pull it up, she can too.
Okay. All right. So the top is, this is, be somewhat familiar with our format. At the top is our total ride, and how it's broken down by the miles and the hour. And on the bottom is all of our operating costs, passenger revenue, and so on, until you get all the way over there to the funding surplus or deficit, which you can see we drew even, except for a little bit of $48 there from the Elder Bridge grocery delivery that we did through the early pandemic of April, May, and June. So we broke even in everywhere else, and you can see there by the FTA, which that is the federal portion of our subsidy, and the SBA is our state of Iowa subsidy. And you can see there the local taxes and the local capital grants is split between what we get from the county and what we get from the state. And we are asking again, we haven't increased, we're asking for $10,000, as we always have. And I do believe that is what we did. Because we get $20,000 from the city for shelters.
This is
And
Dan.
you can see our numbers are a little down from the, due to the pandemic, the last quarter of our fiscal year, which would have been April, May, and June. That's when we ended service due to the pandemic. We have since started back up, but it has not gotten back to pre-COVID or pre-pandemic ridership numbers. So we are struggling region-wide to get those numbers back up. But I do believe it's the passenger confidence level, I think, has a lot to do with that. Just like many of our other sister transit agencies across the state are also having the same issues we are with the numbers being down.
it's been a slow process on rebuilding that, and, but gradually, it seems like you're increasing. Every month, we have acquired drivers and doing our best to expand services where it can be.
That is correct, and, I think it's Cindy's on, Cindy's our chief operating officer. But I think we're pre-COVID, given the day, we were anywhere between 600-700 trips a day. And now we're barely cracking 200. I think if we're lucky, we have a few days where we've been above 200 trips a day since we have come back to service. But in our early return, we were probably 15, 30, 40 trips a day region-wide. So we still have a long way to go to get back, but I do think hopefully with this vaccine over the next several months, by the end of our fiscal year, maybe we will be back to somewhat of our pre-COVID numbers. But we do appreciate the assistance that the county has given us, and also in sharing, hold on a second here. Yeah, these numbers and sharing these numbers that, as you can see, there's just, it's still a respectable number. So it is, we're just very fortunate to have the partnerships that we have with the cities and with the counties, and especially our partnership that we have in there with Village Northwest. So we're happy to have our long-standing partnership with them. And as you can see, also we have all of our Medicaid in there. So you see the access to care, A to C, logistic care, mirror group, Ohio total care. So those are our Medicaid numbers as well. And those also went down through the COVID event as well.
Just a little explanation too, you've always done a good job of not just keeping up with, but you gotta stay kind of one step ahead, and we always seem to get knowledge of what you predict is coming, and most times it ends up being accurate. And then you throw in a pandemic, and nobody knows how to react to that, but have kept up very well with it, Rise has. And did some things that were necessary, not popular, but necessary as far as employees and so on, and now you're kind of working back into it.
Yes. So, also one of the other changes that we're experiencing is that Dan, who's been our chair for the last couple of years, is going to be, we have a 2-year limit, so he is going to be stepping down as our chairman, but we hope, and I'm sure we will continue to have Dan in future board meetings. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't think you guys are going to say, no, he can't be on the Rise. We certainly enjoy his company here at Rise. He's been really great to work with as a board chair, so he will be greatly missed in that role. Did you guys have any questions at all?
I don't hear any, Hugh. Appreciate it.
All right then, well, we appreciate your time. We're going to move on to our next county, so we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you.
item on our
Hopefully
agenda
it
is
speaks
the
down here.
floodplain ordinance discussion.
Right, we talked about this a little bit last week, and I believe we're at next steps now, which would be to set a date for a hearing and the first reading of the proposed ordinance. This will be proposed county ordinance number 28, and it's an ordinance prescribing floodplain management in O'Brien County. So what we discussed a little bit last week was if we could get this published, go in the review Saturday and the mail Sun Wednesday, so we could have the hearing on January 4th.
I just muted them.
So what I laid out here would be that it would be, this would be considered for passage on January 4th after the public hearing. And the hearing, if you're so willing, like 9:30 on January 4th, and then after that, the first reading, and then considered again at another board meeting, which would be January 12th, 9:05, and then possibly, if all goes as planned, then you would adopt it on the 12th of January, and then once it's published, it would take effect. So if you are good with that plan, we need a motion to hold the hearing January 4th at 9:30 on the proposed ordinance. And after the hearing, the first reading, and set the second consideration for January 12th at 9:05.
I'll make a motion to set that hearing date of January 4th at 9:30. And first reading, second considered again January 12th
Okay?
at 9:05.
I'll support that.
We have a motion by Dan, seconded by Dennis, to approve the meeting of January 4th and the second of January 12th on the floodplain ordinance. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, I will get that sent out to the paper.
Was Jared gonna be here today, Mark?
No, Jared is not in this week.
Do we need to wait till 10:30?
I would.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I have some claims that we do need approval on.
Okay.
I have one to Sioux Rivers Mental Health Region, and this would be the first part of their allocation for the year that the county is contributing toward the region for funding. And it's for $225,000. And then the other one is to Gov Connection, and its equipment. This was back in June. Evidently they had some issues, they were changing their financial system, and they didn't get us these bills. It's $5,470.66. They're holding our account until they get paid now. $70.66. It's difficult to pay something they don't send you.
Exactly. That Sioux Rivers allocation, how many, that's the first allocation.
Right, back in August, we gave them fund balance as was the agreement. And now after taxes came in, we're holding, we pay Abby and her expenses, so we keep some of that money here irregardless. And I like to hold a little bit more just in case of delinquent taxes or anything like that, so.
At what point do you, does the balance go to them then? Or does it?
Well, we'll always keep about 75,000.
Got it.
Just as a cushion. There's no mechanism for, there's the mechanism for the county to give the region money, but there's no way for the, to
Understood.
come back the other way. So I like to be a little conservative in what I give.
Okay.
I have a motion to approve those two claims.
Support.
We have a motion by Nancy, support by Sherry. To approve, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Who is the second one to?
Gov Connection?
Doug?
Gov Connection, yeah.
Oh, Doug, okay.
IT gets quite a bit of equipment through them.
I think that since Jared's not here, we probably should say our county, their health COVID response now is, our total number of cases are at 1,458 as of, he sent this out on Monday. Outcome analysis, deaths at 44, total recovered 1,106, and positive analysis, we're at now 16.6%, which is a rise in positive analysis. Turnaround.
So while we have a few minutes, drainage update. That's one of my specialties lately. DD4, the work that needed to be done was looked at and completed within a 10-day window. He called me yesterday and he said he was gonna check out their finished work. Wasn't real pleased about it. He was out there this morning fixing it, it'll be done by noon. Just to make it look pretty. He said it functions great, but just to make it look nice. And he will be winter dormant seeding it. So that should be able to take hold. Get ready for spring rains. DD5, they're out there working. So I went and I snapped a few pictures and looked at it. From what my best eyeball judgment is, they're like 1/5 of the way complete with what they have left. But they don't have any of the, the blanket. What's it called? The seating blanket.
Seating blanket.
There we go. None of that is staked down yet. It's just held by dirt clods. So I'm hoping they'll go back through and stake it because one wind and it's gone. But we have a couple guys out there, so.
Oh, maybe, hopefully. Be so nice to be complete.
But based on the temperatures, things are freezing, so I don't know if they'll be able to get it done before things are hard.
Right.
I did talk to Colin yesterday and he finally relented and said he believed too we need to file for the extension of FEMA.
Yeah, they're still trying to push a little dirt around to get it nice and flat, so chances of being able to do that in 6 days from now even is not real great.
Does sound a little better for later in the week temperature wise, but, once you get frost in the ground.
Still plenty cold at night.
Yes, it is.
So you want me to go ahead and file for the extension, right?
I think we need to file for an extension. I'd rather file for it, and then the off chance it gets done, we don't need it, rather than a last second.
Good call.
Need a motion on that, Barb?
I don't think so. I'll just go ahead and.
At least DD4 is done. One is done.
Yeah.
Did the town contact the bonding?
He did.
Kyle, I mean, that was, it wasn't real hard for us, but it was there. You know, on the wooden stake in there.
No.
Is that how they taking it down? Steel?
No, they can't do steel. That was a big FEMA
Oh,
no.
that's right.
I'm sure it's a biodegradable
Biodegradable.
Yep.
stake of some sort.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Right
can't
now it's
believe-
pieces of dirt about this big.
Yeah, can't believe those stakes are very structural, that they would drive across, so. Should break till we get going there.
Blue's too dark, then I can't read through it. Sometimes.
You're sending me the one works.
Yeah. The other one might be a highlighter with blue, you know, or not, on the end. No?
This one?
Oh, I thought maybe the yellow.
We really like that one. You'll see through it real good.
It's kind of. I think I made something. That doesn't really work. This one's kind of.
Nice shot. Rhea and I were just looking at Jet Carter's wages. He already makes that. He's already at this percent.
Because he had experience, didn't he come in hot?
Yeah, I just pulled the spreadsheet and that's his current wage, what we just adopted.
So why did we back?
We didn't know. We're thinking we need to ask Al what he was wanting to do.
Had he been at that for a period of time, or?
Yeah,
After the last jump, maybe?
He started that, huh?
he started at that.
Is that the like percentage of the sheriff?
70 cents, is that
Yeah, did he
correct?
either get the percentage or the salary wrong?
You made a motion, Dan, I support.
Neither.
Either way, I do it 76 and that is the same thing.
Okay.
We said yet today.
So yeah, do you wanna just pull that motion off the books?
I will rescind my motion as to the pay increase for Jack Carter.
I think I second, I'll rescind my
I'll
second.
support, no, I think I did. No, you did, Nancy. Nancy and Sherry made the rate increase for Jet Corver.
I apologize then.
I did me and you did.
Right.
Terrible.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So then Nancy and Sherry?
Yep.
Okay. So Nancy needs to, right?
Or did you motion or did I?
You did.
Okay, I'll rescind my motion.
I will support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Wow.
Was that because it came from law enforcement before?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he started higher,
I
but
recall that. No.
Jet was on the phone for a bit.
Maybe that's, he was worried.
Isn't it funny he's on right now and he heard us rescind?
Technically you got raised 0%, so.
Yeah.
So same pay, just time frame then for his, the sheriff's office always does that step up time frame, but no step up.
Rhea's contacting Al to find out we'll visit that again next week maybe.
All right. Good catch.
I just said, I was busy mucking with the computer. We're not meeting the last week in December.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, although I do after the meeting, or I don't know. I had an issue where I wanted to make Q big on this last screen. My screen did not match that screen. And like I would share my screen and then like I had Q big here and then there was like little, I couldn't get rid of it.
Text me when meeting's over.
Yeah, they could play with that. And I don't know what people online saw versus, but I thought whatever's up there is what people see. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
It should be text me.
Close enough to 10:30? We could go? Maybe 2 minutes.
I don't know, is anybody aware of anyone else who's going
There are 4 people online that FYI.
Or, okay.
Do you want to start? Now, do you want to start?
Well, you'll need to, Denise, you'll need to come up.
Oh, or whoever.
Whomever.
Yeah.
Or you can grab the microphone off the stand and pass it around too, or hold it if you want.
But just so you're aware, the microphone likes you to be really close, so that people online can hear. That was good.
Yeah, grab them, I gotcha.
Okay.
Should we cover?
Yeah.
How'd that work?
I find myself doing that a lot on there.
Everybody bites their fingernails, this is a real deterrent.
I can pass one down.
Okay, that'd be great.
This one's live too?
We push button, make sure the green light on top is on.
This one was red.
Needs new batteries.
Yeah. And you're supposed to. Yeah, it's red.
I'll take it and I can change up the batteries. Thanks.
Third one today.
Really?
So I have my battery.
Is that budget for that, or rechargeable?
No.
You take one.
Why not?
So I'm back off.
Ha, I hit a red.
Yeah.
Treat you.
Need some more?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll let you do that.
Making sure it can. Go on.
Everybody good now?
Actually,
I think we're good. Okay.
Okay. In August, a friend of mine and I were discussing the lack of horseback riding in Bryant County. My friend mentioned there were trails surrounding the Prairie Heritage Center that would be perfect for trail riding. That piqued my interest. Then came the September 9 Bryant County Conservation Board meeting where there were rangers in full uniform, including weapons posted at the exits. Denise Steffens expressed her concern that the emphasis on the use of public land was more on hunting and fishing, and it could be used in additional ways such as trail riding and bicycling. Those opposed strongly expressed their concerns. I was expecting an atmosphere of interest and cooperation from the board and rangers at the possibility of diversifying the land use. Instead, it was an atmosphere of intimidation and disrespect. October 14th, at the OCCB meeting, 26 members of the public showed up. Many of them are horse riders to support trail riding on Bryant County land. We were told there are restrictions on the land concerning horses. 2 requests to the former director to clarify what the restrictions were went unanswered. We asked to have the restrictions lifted, but left the meeting with, it could take 2 years, but we will keep it on the agenda. November 11, at the OCCB meeting, a proposed additional horse trail was presented along with evidence that horses do not disrupt nature or hunting. A ranger expressed his concern that trail riding would be happening during their busy season, adding to their workload. He also suggested that we pay a fee to ride or be a member of the Bryant County Sportsman's Club. Somehow, in the hiring process, it was not explained to him what his job is and who pays his wages. The taxpayers of Bryant County, of which I am one. We once again left the meeting with, we will keep it on the agenda. We will keep gathering in information, and by spring, we will have a policy in place. December 9 OCCB meeting is the 4th meeting we were present at. there, we will keep gathering information, has now come up with a restriction on land purchased with a wildlife habitat stamp grant. The land was purchased 30 years ago, and this is the 4th meeting, and Brian finally came up with this restriction after asking the right person. Couldn't this information have been found earlier? This whole scenario of meetings makes me question who is in charge. We know that it takes time to do research in order to make the right decision. However, we felt from meeting to meeting nothing had been done to further our goal of trail riding on public land in O'Brien County. The culture of the O'Brien County Conservation needs to be changed. If a group of respectful horse riders who would like to ride on the land are met with such resistance, why is there a need to purchase more land? More hunting ground? The DNR has over 1,500 acres of land to hunt on in Bryan County. An observation I made at the December meeting was Amber Weatherall asking Roy Chambers if he wanted to see all of the applications for the director position. She had reported that none of the applications received so far met the qualifications. Shouldn't all of the applications go directly to the board chairman? Shouldn't he be the one who decides who meets the qualifications and not the assistant director? Who is hiring the new director? Who is in charge? At the September 9 OCC meeting, Terry Bolges informed the audience that an equestrian trail had been created at Dog Creek some time ago, but no one used it. I stopped there in October, walked the trails, and also noticed 3 hitching posts. Since horses are restricted from being on O'Brien County land, I wonder why was the trail created and why did they build hitching posts? I find this confusing. They created trails and built hitching posts, but we cannot ride there because we are restricted. Confusion, frustration, intimidation, and lack of transparency are not what I expect when dealing with the O'Brien County Conservation Board or employees. We need to develop a spirit of cooperation and support to provide the best possible experience for the residents of O'Brien County. O'Brien County has much to offer, and we need to find ways to diversify the use of the land so more people can enjoy it. Thank you for letting me speak. Patty Molly. It's at the top.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Hey guys, I'm Denise Steffen, and you know what? I asked, why am I here? What am I doing this? I know why you guys are here. You're paid. We think you're smart. We trusted you to manage our county. And I wonder why these people are all here. I wonder why the County Conservation Board of Volunteers have given so much. And I think it's because we care. And I guess that's what I came down to, is why I'm here, is because I care. Similarly, why did I come to the September meeting? That's a good question. It was to express my concerns about the future of O'Brien County Conservation and the Prairie Heritage Center. I was concerned about the trend of the O'Brien County Conservation Commission with Charlene Ellier's decision to leave her long-established naturalist position after the decision was made to reduce her salary position, her chain of command, to move her office to the basement to provide her with a different vehicle that may not have served her as well. I was concerned that the trend was away from education with the addition of a new full-time ranger position in April. And I asked about the uses of the 942 managed acres in O'Brien County with a taxpayer-funded budget that hovers in the $500,000 range. I was concerned because I care. I know many of you, don't read the local newspapers. I get that. And it's about budget time. And as a taxpayer and concerned citizen, it's been evidence that the culture and the future of O'Brien County Conservation Commission, what is that, or how has it changed since that September meeting? I was invited to the O'Brien County Conservation Board meeting, which was the next evening after the September meeting, by Sherry, to see how the focus of the O'Brien County Conservation Commission was broad and inclusive. It wasn't becoming more focused on hunting, as evidenced by the additional ranger and the reduction of the natural position. The next evening I did attend, hoping to witness the broad focus of our taxpayer-funded organization, and to my surprise, the meeting was attended by armed rangers in bulletproof vests and with handcuffs at each exit. At the start of the meeting, the Sportsman Club President Roastery Speed declared I was going to ride my horse on the land the Sportsman Club owned across from the Prairie Heritage Center, which is called the Hannibal Waterman Wildlife Area. The Sportsman Club does many wonderful things for the sportsmen and the youth in O'Brien County, and they did contribute $11,000 toward the purchase of that land with others, including the O'Brien County Historical Society, and we now know a grant from the Wildlife Habitat Stamp Fund in the amount of $55,000. The deed was from Bibler to O'Brien County Conservation, and it was in November of 1989. We taxpayers have maintained it since then. The sportsmen were not corrected about, but allowed to declare that they were not sharing their land. And further clarity, somehow it was assumed that I came to the meeting to demand I could ride my horse on county-owned land. I was asked, where do you ride your horse now? But you know what? I wasn't there. It wasn't about me riding my horse anywhere. I was an invited guest. However, the very thought of sharing any of the managed 942 acres of horseback riders 4 months during the summer triggered a big response from the Sportsman's Club and also from the Rangers. They were in opposition to sharing any county-owned land, declaring the land needs to rest outside the hunting season and could not be used in the 4 months during the summer. Even though the American Trails research indicated horseback riding to have less effect on wildlife than any other form of outdoor recreation, including hiking. Passion was evident. However, my concern that the O'Brien County Conservation Commission was striving toward a broader base of taxpayers was not lessened by this demonstration. And were the actions concerning? Well, I guess I'd have to admit, I thought they were. I thought the culture demonstrated to a guest was a little less than welcoming. During that same week, an ill-advised letter to a fundraising organization was written and signed by the assistant director or employee. This organization has served to raise money for many aspects of conservation and this amazing place in Northwest Iowa. What culture prompted this? Later, the director acknowledged having a part of authorizing the letter. The director has announced his decision to retire. And am I concerned? Well, yes, I am. At the meeting in October, an attorney was retained. However, retaining that attorney was approved by the board after having used that attorney's services. The retained attorney was paid by taxpayers, though we have a county attorney on salary. Am I concerned? Maybe. In November, the board voted to award the retiring director $3,000 plus his service weapon. Later, the board met to amend the wording of the $3,000 from award to longevity increase. Minutes from September 17, 2003 state every 5th year thereafter the director is eligible for a $1,000 longevity increase. This in addition to any cost of living increase. That's what the minutes say. However, the amended wording to the motion does not mention the cost of living language. The director already received increases in salary over the cost of living increase every year. That $1,000 bonus was not awarded every 5th year prior. Minutes from 2003 were retrieved when someone was benefited from locating them. More later on the ability to retrieve pertinent documents. Am I concerned as a taxpayer? Maybe, yes. Further support to demonstrate the continued focus on hunting came at a different meeting. Andy Kaufman came as a private person to speak for the Sportsman Club in opposition to sharing any of the 942 managed acres for the 4 months off hunting season. Though he was speaking as a private citizen, he cited his job as an O'Brien County Conservation Commission ranger employed by taxpayers, saying the extra maintenance, if needed, would be too much for the rangers during their busy time. He also suggested an extra cost of allowing horses to be on county-maintained ground, if any, could be mitigated in the form of a membership paid by the horseback riders to the Sportsman's Club, a private nonprofit. So swimmers pay a fee, hikers, bird watchers. I'm concerned about the trend toward focus on hunting, and yes, I still am. Still, since September, I have requested the restrictions based upon acquisition and other criteria for the 942 managed acres in O'Brien County. I asked repeatedly. After the former director retired, Brian Schimmer kindly provided me with the brochure. That's what he could do. He couldn't find the other documents about the limitations on property, on acquisition instruments, or the restrictions. In other words, I wanted to know the obstacles needed to overcome, if any, on the 942 managed acres in order to broaden the use before we went to next steps. I wanted to avert what happened next. And I will say, you know, the Darwin, Dow, and other volunteers interested, they spent time, they toured, they had a wonderful presentation. That was wonderful. It showed cooperation. I was really happy. But what happened next was, after they had done all this work, at the next meeting, last Wednesday, the acting director announced someone on the Wildlife Habitat Stamp Fund Committee suddenly that morning knew which parcel of land was being considered for expanded use. This Wildlife Habitat Stamp Fund Committee person knew of the restriction and funding sources. The committee person issued caution to the acting director about the expanded use of the Hannibal Wildlife Area. The committee person knew more of the restrictions than our staff could gather in 3 months. The acting director then stated the county supervisors would have to increase the county conservation budget with an extra and additional $55,000 to repay the grant if expanded use of that land was approved. The notion of asking for an addition to the Bryant County Conservation Commission budget seems odd, since the Bryant County Conservation Commission has $60,000 in a fund unrestricted for land acquisition and improvements. If funds are required for repayment of the grant, why wouldn't existing funds be utilized before asking taxpayers for more? Further, he stated paying back the grant could result in further funding through the Wildlife Habitat Stamp to be denied, possibly. The staff searching for the original paperwork, however, at the meeting, the staff is searching for the original paperwork. However, at the meeting, I was able to find a grant application for the Wildlife Habitat Fund on the internet. That grant application that I found does not specifically prohibit horseback riding on land acquired with their funds. However, this is strange, it does prohibit picnicking or charging a fee to use the land. According to the grant document, the amount of the grant can be returned. The Wildlife Habitat Stamp Fund understands the limited use of land when it's purchased, that it may need to be changed or expanded. Therefore, the grant can be approved to be repaid. If permission and possible repayment are approved by the fund committee, there is no statement concerning possible denial of future funds. The document does state if illegal uses of the property are discovered, then future funding may be denied. Actually, this might be a great opportunity. I really think it might be. Perhaps the property in question could be released from these restrictions due to proximity to the Prairie Heritage Center. It may be a worthy consideration to pay this grant back due to the limitations it places on the use of land. Wouldn't it be advantageous to eliminate any restriction except those that we impose at a local level? Yes, maybe somebody would want to picnic there. That would be terrible. Maybe hunting should be scrutinized due to the proximity to the Prairie Heritage Center and the pedestrian traffic there. If the limited use land purchased and funded by the Wildlife Habitat Stamp Fund is deemed no longer optimal, maybe we should consider using existing funds to repay the grant. These are things to consider and investigate. It does concern me that we've not been able to readily ascertain what restrictions are imposed on our 942 managed acres. Does that concern me? Yes, it does. Later, in the same meeting, the Sportsman Club president spoke with the acting director about the purchase of 2 additional pieces of property. The property is purchased with the help of the Sportsman Club. Then do we taxpayers get to fund it with staff and equipment to maintain it? Has the direction been given to our employees about further acquisition of more singular use property? Do we have enough maintained land to support and maintain? We already had to hire an additional ranger in 2020. As a taxpayer, am I concerned? Yes. The existing job description for the open director position includes requirements for law enforcement background and potential requirement of completion for law enforcement academy. While law enforcement is allowed by Iowa Code 350, it's not required. The law enforcement component had many extra costs, including extra IFRS and potential costs of the law enforcement academy, which is significant. Is it necessary to have extra county law enforcement? Do we need all of the rangers to guard the doors in a show of force and attempt intimidation when a 66-year-old lady is invited to come to a visit? Do we need the extra expenses law enforcement employees require when we have adequate law enforcement in our county? As a taxpayer, yes, I do wonder. Hunting and fishing are important to a number of our taxpayers. I really appreciate their passion. Maybe we should investigate how many taxpayers are being served. I have attached, and you'll each get a copy, the number of hunting and fishing licenses issued to O'Brien County residents as provided by the DNR. It would seem a disproportionate allocation of salaries and property are being expended for the solitary use by a small percentage of our population. You can ascertain a balance that you think appropriate. You have the ability to approve the budget. Does it concern me? Maybe. Let's remember that the Bryant County Conservation Board members are volunteers. They have had upheaval since the departure of the former naturalists in August. It's obvious they're facing challenges as they attempt to navigate their volunteer positions. They're appointed by you. They should thank you, right? You are the ones that we trust to give direction. Maybe it's time to help them and indicate where you suggest the allocation of $500,000 should be concentrated. I'm concerned about the culture. I have witnessed firsthand the culture of the Bryant County Conservation. What I've experienced in recent events was a culture of, as Patty indicated, intimidation, obstruction, and obscurity. I have heard from others they experienced this as well. My concern is that culture discouraged from the top down. Can we foster a culture of cooperation, transparency, and maximum use of our resources? I know the Prairie Heritage Center is a definite asset. I know Mill Creek, Dog Creek, and Donald Park are wonderful. I have confidence that the new naturalists will serve our Bryant County well. Is it time to rethink the acquisition of limited use land so we can enjoy our existing 942 managed acres in a more diverse manner? The DNR already offers close to 1,500 acres in O'Brien County for hunting and little else. Can we concentrate on other things? Hiring a new director presents an amazing opportunity. Can key criteria for hiring be a spirit of cooperation? Is it time to rethink hiring of law enforcement for ranger and director positions? Is it time to solidify we're looking to utilize our existing resources? Is it time to rethink the uses of historically annual allocation of $500,000 to Bryant County Conservation Commission to focus on education and broader uses of our existing resources? Is it time to make a bold statement the O'Brien County Conservation Commission is here to serve and to help you enjoy all we have in O'Brien County? Thanks for listening. My current concerns, I appreciate the opportunity. My mouth is dry. I have copies for you. Thank you. Would you like to do that? Oh, sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm Claude Struve. I live in Bryant County since '79. Grew up in Peterson, Iowa, close to Heritage Place. I will be not nearly as long as the other two. They covered a lot of what I wanted to say.
Say it again.
I got involved, and when I heard in September that a lady went to the meeting and they had armed guards, guys at the doors, and they told her, ride at your own risk. I got a little upset. I'm a horse rider. I have a place to ride. I have plenty of place to ride, but I don't like people getting pushed around. I felt really bad for her. I didn't know Denise at all. Didn't know her from Adam. I don't know if we need 5 rangers in O'Brien County to carry guns. I don't know how many rangers we need. I'd like to know how many violations they write a year for hunting out of season, over your bag limit, using wrong weapon. I don't know how many violations they write, but I don't know. I can't imagine we need 5 people to carry guns to do that. Some counties have that as a mandatory thing. Some counties don't. We have the You all have cell phones, they can call the county sheriff in no time. If they're worried about protecting some hunter gonna shoot them, I suppose they can carry their own private pistol, but that is an extra expense to us taxpayers. And I'm not sure we need that, maybe you guys might want to investigate that. The other thing is, at the last meeting, Mr. Chambers called on a guy from the Bryant County Sportsman Club, did we buy the land? Did we purchase the land? And they were trying to buy some, I think it was Bergerson or Brugman area. And I'm just here to tell you, I think we got plenty of land in Bryant County already. And we should utilize what we have. And I don't see any reasons to buy any more because that's going to cost us more money. If the horse riding, common sense wise, all the land they got to hunt, and I'm an avid hunter, I hunt all the time. I hunt a lot. And we own land on the O'Brien-Clay County border, and we hunt in Clay County. I ride a horse there all the time. Patty's ridden a horse there before. My son shot a 182 buck 3 years ago there. I mean, we aren't hurting the hunting riding horses, and we're only talking from June to the 1st of October. Lastly, if this goes through, it won't cost you guys a dime. We have people lined up that will expand, we want to expand the parking lot so we get trailers in a little bit better. And Pat and I and this lady here has walked the trail. It's almost a half a mile. They won't have to mow it. We'll maintain the trail we want to add. It won't cost them any more money. It will cost you $0. We will take care of that little half-mile stretch. And we'll expand the trail. So the taxpayers of O'Brien County will not be hindered by this new thing we want to put in. That's all I have to say. I just think that I got involved because this lady got intimidated. I think that's wrong. That's wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To clarify, Claude, I don't think they intimidated me. My husband says she doesn't need a gun.
I'm Sharon Flinders, and I wholeheartedly agree with the previous three people that have spoken. We are here because we want to work together with the board and with the supervisors to make O'Brien County better. We're not here to get anybody in trouble or try to make things happen that shouldn't happen. We want more people to take advantage of the managed acres that we have to allow more taxpayers to get benefit from the money that they're providing to the county to spend on the acres. And I think there's a lot more activities that can really work in conjunction with the hunting and fishing that's already going on. Definitely there could be some hiking, biking, bird watching, maybe even snowshoeing, which might be kind of tricky in the winter when it's hunting season. And the horseback riding, of course. And I also have concerns about how the paper, I did not make the meeting at the last, for the Conservation Board, but I did read in the paper that the assistant director is the one that was saying that there weren't any qualified candidates. And I guess in my common sense, the chain of command should, at a bare minimum, come from the board chair of O'Brien County Conservation, or possibly even the applications be sent in to the courthouse and then be forwarded to the board, rather than the assistant director looking at all the applications for her future boss. It's just, to me, a simple chain of command. It's, you know, did anyone think about that when they put out the ad to say we want applications and to send them to wherever they're being sent? It concerns me that we had to hire a separate county, or a separate attorney, when we already have a county attorney on board. And that also the rationalization for Terry's bonus and service weapon, they could come up with the minutes from 2003 to, you know, verify that that's how it should be. But yet when the Bryant County Bell-Times-Courier requested the public meeting documents for the last, you know, year's meetings, they hired the attorney to say, well, we don't know where they're at, or we're not going to give them to you. It's very difficult to believe that there's transparency in this organization at the time, but I think, as Denise said, this is a perfect opportunity with a new naturalist coming on board and a new director coming on board that we can change the atmosphere and all of us work together to make O'Brien County better. Thank you.
Can I ask for
Sure.
a little bit of clarification?
Sure.
In regards to information going to the Bell-Times-Courier?
There was a request for
Right.
meeting minutes and apparently,
Can I explain that?
you sure can.
I made a request originally from July 1 of 2020 through whatever date it was, which was, I think, mid-September-ish. Then Mike was asked to intervene. Anyway, communication started with an outside attorney, and it got rather expensive. So for those who helped pay for that, I really appreciate it. It took probably 90 days, and at this time, I've got email documents that will not open. I have text messages that are half of a conversation, and it's not known right now who the other half of the conversation is. Terry was one, and then there's another person, I don't know who that is yet, but it's half a conversation, and I'm gonna describe it right now, it's a little bit chilling, the piece that I have. So it's not that they wouldn't give it, it's that there was all kinds of action taken to make it as difficult
For
and
a
as
public
expensive as
meeting that
possible.
should have been transparent and say, here's our meeting minutes, here's our information. It was met with resistance, and to me, if you're a public serving entity as the, supervisors as well, and anybody in this courthouse, the taxpayers are paying for wages for people to work for them, and sometimes I think that gets lost, and I just hope that we can just find the place with the new director, with a new naturalist, that we can put things back together and be more transparent, and it just feels like the O'Brien County Board is somewhere along the line, someone, and maybe I have it all wrong, that they're hiding something that, as long as people don't know about it, they can continue on focusing where their focus has been. It may or may not be a true statement, but when documents are requested and they're met with resistance, it just gives me the feeling of something's not forthright, and it needs to be.
Right. But when you say public meeting minutes, those are all, nothing needs to be, those are turned over. But when you're looking at conversations from emails and text messages, those do have to make sure that sensitive information has been removed. And so, I just want to clarify, because I want to understand. You're saying that meeting minutes were...
I just know that Mary was met with resistance for the things that she requested. I've tried to find meeting minutes online. They're nowhere to be found. And yes, I probably could request them, but if it's public, there's no reason why it can't just be when they're, and I hope that someone's able to be typing them up.
They're online now.
They are online now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That was one of the
So then
things.
maybe I just haven't been able to find them.
That's what we said. So if you go to the O'Brien County website, it will have on there meeting minutes. So that's
For the O'Brien County
for the
Conservation
O'Brien
Board.
County. Yes, so on the
Okay.
Conservation Board website, excuse me, not for O'Brien County.
Okay.
The Conservation, they're there now. Before you did have to call in and request a copy,
Okay.
and a copy would be sent to you, but now they are posted.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Could I add one thing, as long as we're talking about records and open records and whatever? It's just a culture of trying to hide things instead of having transparency. The last meeting I was at, they take a recording of the meetings now. There was a request to get a copy of that, or at least see it again, because sometimes we don't remember everything we heard,
Right.
or we might have heard things wrong. There was a request to see that, and that has to go through Micah now in order to give up a video recorder of a meeting where we were at. That's wrong.
It went to Micah? Sorry.
All I did was ask Micah if it would be appropriate for them to get it videoed, and I talked to Denise yesterday, and she can view it at any time during business hours, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. All it took was a emailed, make sure there would be nothing that would be, that they couldn't see. She can come and see it anytime, I have no problem with that whatsoever, and I was gonna talk to her today, because I told her yesterday that I would get back to her, and I will do that. And she knows now that she can come anytime, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, to view it during business hours.
Right, and just to say, like, we have our director of design, retired, excuse me, Bryant has graciously stepped up. It's a big learning curve.
It is.
I mean, I couldn't imagine what it all would take, so
It is.
I know
We're
you
not
guys
here
are
to
gracious.
attack you.
No, I know
We
you
are
guys
now,
are,
please don't feel that way.
I know you guys are graceful people,
I do,
so,
I mean, I don't know if I can talk, I'm not on the agenda, but I'm willing to listen to anybody. Dave and I have had a conversation, I told Denise yesterday, I did not know about the habitat stamp fee or the knocker grants and what the attachments were until it was dropped into my lap. And that's the truth. I've not tried to hide anything from anybody.
No, we
And
never.
so I've learned, and just yesterday, I learned a whole bunch of stuff about the knocker grants, and I learned that the habitat stamp fee money that was taken for the grant can be paid back. It has to go through county conservation. But Dave and I talked about the foundation the other day when you delivered the bales. If I'll be honest with you, I did not remember about the 60,000. I don't know if that's appropriate. I hope I didn't misspeak at the meeting. I don't want to say anything that would get you guys in trouble or anything, and if I did, I apologize for that. But you asked if the association, or Little Sioux Valley Association would pay that off. That is perfectly legal, and so, you know, we can take a look at that. I have no problem with that. Down below, it's a whole different ball of wax. You're with the Fish and Wildlife Service, you have to have an impact study, wetland mitigation, all kinds of stuff. So, and you have to plan all that out. I don't know how to do that. You'd have to hire somebody to do that. They would have to submit that to the Fish and Wildlife. There's all kinds of things going on there. And in order, that's a $100,000 buyback on a grant like that. And then you have to change. Wetland mitigation means that we have to get some other land to replace this wetland, that it's a designated wetland, we have to get some other land to replace it, it's a mess. So I would think would be really tough to do on the side, on the east side of the nature center. I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I'm willing to sit down and listen to anybody.
Are you supposed to be mowing down there in the wetlands?
Yeah, we can do that, we can hang. Pretty sure. I talked to a gentleman yesterday.
Pretty sure?
Pretty sure.
Well, like you say, I'm trying to ask the right questions.
I know.
And I'm trying
Absolutely
to find
right.
out for you folks. And what I got from yesterday is that it would be a big deal to go through the hoops. So if we have to start somewhere, maybe we can start across the road. I'm not saying, I told you, I said at the meeting, the board meeting the other night,
Yeah, absolutely.
that I was dropped into this. I'm trying to do the best I can.
You know you are.
I did not handle any of this kind of stuff. When I was a park ranger, I told Denise that most of the time it was completing tasks and making sure the park rangers completed the tasks. So I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, you know you
I'll sit down and chat with anybody, and I know that Mr. Chambers and the board members will listen too. But I think, I don't think that any of us intentionally tried to drag this out. I personally would not have wanted to allow you to do that and then got in trouble with the grant people, and who knows what's going on there. I don't know. They didn't seem to think it would affect grants in the future, but, and if I've given you any false information, I apologize. I'm trying to get everything straight as I go along. So,
and there is a call into the DNR to try to find a copy of the.
I talked out that lady,
Well, they should have.
Right, and
Yeah.
so
They should
that,
have.
I mean, that, there are
that lady
steps
talked to
being
me
taken.
yesterday, Sherry, and that's the one she talked about, the knocker grant and the stuff down below. I talked to a gentleman who's on the Habitat Stamp Committee in Dan Heisel yesterday too, and he's the one who said that that can be paid back, and you can use association money, but you would have to pay us, and we would have to pay them back because we're the ones. The grant, the original grant from that property, I've looked, I can't find the original grant. I know that, however, that we did not write it. That might mean that we have to ask the DNR for a copy of that original grant. I'm not sure, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on there. That was 31 years ago. I was not around then, so I'll try to do the best I can on that and any compatibility issues, but if you pay back the grant, then there is no compatibility issues, the way it sounds to me. So, is there any other questions that I can answer?
I just think back when I asked in September, and you weren't there, Brian.
No.
You weren't there.
No.
But back when I asked, that's why I asked back in September, what are the restrictions?
Well,
You
I can't help that.
No, I know,
So-
you weren't for the record
Nobody
then,
online
you
can
know.
hear it.
But it would be a good thing to know, and I would think it would be readily available. I mean, how can you enforce, not your fault, but how can you enforce what you don't even know is enforceable? I mean, I thought it would be like full of fun, back in the day, not you, Brian.
No,
Not you,
I
not
get
you.
what you're saying, I'm not gonna go back and rehash.
No, I'm just saying, go forward.
I agree, let's move
figure it out.
forward.
And I think that's
figure it
been
out.
the general consensus of the board, is we all need to move forward. And we've said that we want to see the land utilized by more than just hunting. And that's been reiterated every meeting, that we're not taking this off the table. And we know that the areas by the research that's been done, that horse areas in northwest Iowa are typically closed to riding during hunting, which then affords us the time frame to have something ready for spring for when they can open. So it's not that it's trying to be able to postpone it and make it impossible to happen, because that's something we want to see the land utilized. And I think from that first meeting you attended to now, the hostility, is probably an accurate word, between everybody in that room has dropped, and everybody is coming to the table, and things are civil, and people are coming with ideas, and they're listening, and they're not interrupting each other. I mean, there's steps forward, and the board has said repeatedly, you know what, we're gonna make this happen somehow, but what area does it need to be on? We need to make sure we take those right steps, because if we would have put it down below the Prairie Heritage Center, we would have been in a lot of trouble with a lot of different people, including the Fish and Wildlife Service. I don't know if you've worked with them or dealt with them before. It's not fun. So if you do it out of order. But that piece to the east, let's come up with a plan, and that's not off the table. So I guess personally, knowing how the meetings have gone at the board, to tell you that I'm not trying to stall that, and that's not the opinion of the board. We want to see that utilized, because there's just not places to ride in the Bryant County. And then
I would
also,
Go ahead. Can I ask a question?
yes, yes, ma'am.
I want to thank Brian for all you do.
Yes.
Thank Brian.
Right.
I want to thank Brian, but if, say, the east side next spring or next summer, we start riding in there without approval of the grant or whatever, what's going to happen?
I can't answer
They'll
that.
the way it sounds, if I need to get more clarification, I sure can. The way it sounds is they're gonna make us pay the money back.
If we ride horses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think one of the.
Or if somebody picnics.
Or some
Well, I
I
don't
didn't
know.
write it.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know who writes compatibility and puts picnicking in with hunting and fishing, but I don't have anything to do with that.
I know,
So,
I know, Brian.
And so that was also brought up by both of you, that there was concerns that they were gonna request funds from the supervisors for an additional $55,000.
Yeah.
And people,
Brian said that.
I said that, and if I misspoke, I apologize to all you guys.
right, but he asked the question. He said we might have to approach the supervisors, and right away I said, nope,
No.
that's not happening. So I don't think that needs to be a concern, because that's not happening.
Well, and I think there is $60,000 unrestricted in land use, land acquisition and improvement. This would be a great opportunity to utilize that.
And I beg ignorance on that, because I did not
Yeah, sure, of course,
realize that.
of course. You're
I
fine.
have no excuse for
Yeah,
that.
we're,
You don't know what you don't know.
yeah, yeah.
No,
I don't think there needs to be more land in Bryant County.
No.
I think we got plenty.
You don't.
I would.
I know, Dan, I would like to make a clarification just for you. The piece of property that we talked about at the end of that meeting
Yeah.
was a piece of property that was going up for auction, up by the ethanol plant right across the road, Bill and Joanne Keel. There was 33 acres there that the creek went through, and it was rough ground. The son-in-law of Mr. Keel called and said, if I can buy that, I will deed it over to you. And I said, we would be interested in that. We would not have paid a penny for any of that land. And what they were talking about was John Farrell, part of the Sportsman's Club, someone went to that sale because they were thinking about buying it, if they could afford it. So they called the gentleman from Alaska, and they thought they could go higher together to buy that piece of property. The County Conservation Board would not have been on the hook for any of that.
Okay.
So that is not correct.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, me too.
No, I'm just saying to you.
And that's why I wanted
Yeah,
to,
and I understand that, and this is the first time.
Yeah, and I'm just saying to you is because that statement was not correct.
Yeah.
So we understand the fact that we need to, we're going to ask for funding, we need to make more than a call to somebody's.
But you understand how
I understand that, but, yeah, okay.
then how I misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not, oh, that's okay.
And that's why this dialogue has to happen.
Yeah.
Does it necessarily have to happen in this room with this table? I don't think so. But
No.
I think it is a conversation that needs to be had.
I will say though, you know, I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from the County Conservation Board of volunteers, God bless them, you've been through a lot, you know. There's not a lot of,
No.
you have no
They don't
idea
respond.
if they're listening, if they're responding, if they're interested, if they're opposing.
Well, Denise,
You
you
know-
and I have chatted.
Yeah, well,
So-
yes.
So if any,
You're the only one
My
that
cell-
responds.
my cell phone number is on the county website.
Yeah.
If you need to talk to somebody, call me. My phone is on me, text me. I can
And
do
you
that
have,
too.
you have been the only one that's responded.
Please, yeah.
You've been
Also,
the
if you
only
look-
one.
If you look at the age demographic around that table too,
Yeah.
I mean, I can fall in that, I can text very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I
So-
write letters, you know, to others, you know.
So please, so for everybody else in this room,
But then there's no feedback at all, none. So you think, now it's budget time, now it's time to hire a director. Who is listening, you know? That was my concern. Who besides you is listening?
and that application process, we did say, Roy clearly said that applications are going to come to the board. That it's not going to be Amber looking at saying who is qualified and not, those are going to come to the board. So that,
But that was after she opened them.
yes.
Well, you
You
guys don't
clearly said it
understand
was
what's going
after
on.
she opened them.
You don't understand what type of applications we receive.
So,
So I'm just saying to you is that
It should be the chairman's responsibility.
right,
Right.
okay.
but we will get the applications, we'll get the applications that have
they'll
been
get to see
opened, and we will
They're
get,
gonna hire. we
and
know.
from now on, they won't be opened. So, that, yes, should they have been open? Probably not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But
How often
they will
do you
go out
know?
to the
They
board.
might explain a
So,
little bit.
Do you know what's in the
I'll
envelope
say.
when you, I mean,
I know, you know.
I have that for you guys. There's times I get mail, until
Yeah,
I open
these-
it, I don't know what's in there.
Exactly.
I will say to you right now, that these 5 applications, I don't know if are on a single sheet of paper. No resumes. I don't know if I should be doing this, but I'm going because I think we have a misunderstanding. A single sheet of paper that was sent to us separately in the mail, so we have 5 different applications. No, over the internet, right.
The Facebook page is.
Yes, we got 5 applications
That's it.
over the Facebook page, a single sheet of paper, no resume, no application, no cover letters, no anything.
Nothing in the mail, nothing actually in the mail.
No. So I think that's quite different than if somebody's sending it in a nice envelope and opening it up and you get a cover letter and a resume and an application.
Yes.
None of that has happened, and she has not opened any of those because we have received none of those.
Okay. And that's the only reason I say that they're not
I'm trying.
qualified, Denise, is
I'm trying.
because it's.
Oh,
You're fine, and you're fine.
You're fine. I can say that.
I'm not pointing out that you guys are doing something wrong, I'm just saying that at a bare minimum, I'm looking as being a person that would be an employer
Right.
and hiring someone. You need to be careful of where those applications
Sure.
come in. And, maybe there should be somebody else that's handling the Facebook page that, you know, for this just interim, I don't know. I mean, it
Right,
just, to
but
me,
if
it needs to be a
you- if
complete
you're-
segregation of duties.
We're talking about applications for the director. And to me, if they're coming in on an email as a single sheet of paper,
Or even coming through Facebook.
they almost should be thrown out.
Well,
Because there's nothing there to let us know what kind of qualifications are there. So I'm just saying to you that nobody that has sent us, we haven't had a serious application and nobody's opened any mail to look at something that they shouldn't.
It could be, maybe because of the
Oh,
police officer whole deal that they have to go through.
police
But-
officer, oh, you mean the
Yeah,
qualifications?
qualifications, yeah,
Sure.
law enforcement.
But I wanted to say, is that after that September meeting, I think we got a sense of the culture that we walked into. And from there on, every meeting, it was like, because we still sensed that culture, that we felt that they're postponing it. They're really, the board, yes, it is very stoic. It's very hard to read the board. I mean, you had questions, which was great. There was never any questions. They're very stoic, and it was always in the spring, 2 years, da-da-da, da-da-da. And I think that initial culture came from hunting. We don't want horses on this land, no way. And that's kind of the culture we felt was happening. And that's why every time we went, we're going to another meeting, we went to another meeting, presented more information and more information and more information, and never got any feedback, no response from them. Not that we expected them to say, well, yeah, go ahead at the first meeting, but there was never any transparency, there was never any openness, there was never any, hey, this sounds like a great idea.
The dialogue from the other side was missing.
You never get this kind of a discussion with that board. I've been there since September, every meeting. You don't get this kind of a discussion with the board. It's, no, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. You don't get into really good discussion.
And they are volunteers, and they have a tough time. SFU.
Right, I understand, and opinions vary.
Yeah.
That's Dave's opinion. I love the people we have on our board, and I don't know, I just think sometimes that, that's the way I feel. So,
And I think part of it is too, sometimes the comments that can come are from the volunteer side of it too, that probably don't understand how everything works fully. But when the 2-year comment came out, that was not from the board.
Yeah.
That was from an individual who was just saying numbers, like it could take 2 years without sitting and thinking it through most likely. So nobody in the board feels that it's going to take 2 years.
No.
I understand that hunting is a primary thing, that's fine, but the land can be used for a lot of stuff besides hunting.
Oh, absolutely. I have 5 children who I take out hiking through that ground even now. We put on our orange vest, we make so much noise, the hunters are going to know we're there.
Do it in the middle of the day.
So, but I mean, like the land is utilized for more than just hunting too, and I just hope people understand that you can be out there and you can hike and you can do all this stuff.
But at one of those meetings, it was said that it's at your own risk and that the land needs to rest. So that was a clear message that you can't go out there. I'm just saying, I know you didn't have a part of that, I'm just saying that's where we're coming from.
Yeah, that was for, that the land needs to rest,
And that it's at your own risk, I mean, life is at your own risk.
It is.
But the comment about at your own risk was from one of the rangers.
Again, we can't stifle freedom of speech.
No.
As an employer, we can't tell our employees what to say. And so, yeah, they have their opinion. But at the end of the day, they have to enforce what the board lays in front of them. And when they decide not to enforce that, or allow things that we say are allowable, then we can step in and say, you know what, you've overstepped. But for them, saying things like, you come up, be at your own risk, or join the sportsman club, or pay a fee, that's their personal opinion, not the wishes of the board.
That's why it's critical the new director, hopefully.
Educate them.
When I looked that up, Sharon.
They are servants of the public.
When I looked it up on fees, and I was been looking up into this 1% Iowa state tax that we're
Yeah,
proposing, and
I know.
3/8 of a cent of this is going to go to water quality and water initiatives. I looked it up, and the money is going to go to a natural resources and outdoor recreation trust fund, which is chapter 461. The money that they're going to allocate, I have it written down here, 23% of that money is going to go to the DNR, to Natural Resources Account, which is to support state parks, state visits, which really doesn't help our county much. 20% of it goes to IDALs and NRCS for water. 14% goes to the Department of Ag and DNR, once again, for different projects. We have 13% goes to Iowa Resource Enhancement, and then another local conservation partnership, 13% goes back to the DNR. Another one goes to, 10% goes to DOT and DNR trails. And then the last 7% goes to DNR on lakes, which we don't have any of. And I'm not really in favor of this, but I learned a lot of information about this. Recreational purposes, and this includes hunting, trapping, angling, horseback riding. So horseback riders are number 4, hunters are number 1. Swimming, boating, camping, picnicking, hiking, bird watching, nature study, water skiing, snowmobiling, other summer and winter sports, and viewing or enjoying historical, archaeological, or scientific sites. But when I looked up DNR, they said that any DNR funding that they do, you cannot charge a fee for. So this money from wildlife habitat stamp funds came from the DNR, correct? So they can't charge a fee to ride on there.
No one was
And
thinking
and
about
also,
charging a fee.
the first meeting,
That's said.
the first meeting that I went
That was
to,
said more than once.
That's what an individual
Hey,
said.
let me finish.
I'm sorry.
the first meeting I went to, it was brought up that wildlife habitat stamp funds has this no horseback riding agenda, but you can go out there and ride horse with a gun, and you can hunt out there, which doesn't quite seem like DNR was. So I think, the board has to work with DNR and look into, I realize they might say no, but there are 9 exceptions to DNR that says horseback riding are allowable in these wildlife areas, and I think O'Brien County needs to be one of them exceptions. And I think we have to do whatever we can with DNR, if it's paying the money back, if it's however that land was purchased, or find another, alternative. But I just, to charge a fee to do this is, that's against DNR's, even their basis. DNR is about handicap accessibility, letting everybody join, it's recreational purposes. And the way the earmark that I see is it's more of a private use for hunting, and we have to open that up.
I would tell you that I did not say that.
No.
I don't know
And
that,
you
I
said
don't know
it,
that
and
I agree.
Norman knows that.
I understand that, but you're also, those guys hunt, they're passionate, and if he was mistaken, he's mistaken, there's no doubt about it. And if it can't be done, it can't be done, and we'll have to look at it.
Because I know Terry talked to me about it once, and we were talking about another area, and he was wondering, how can they do this, because they can't even move trails and that kind of stuff on a water or wetland mitigation project. But DNR allows exceptions to all this stuff, and it can be done, because other counties, other areas are doing it, and that's I think, if we have a big enough group of this kind of recreation, I can see where motocross riding and things, or dune buggies or something like that, every county has tried that. They've done it down in Cherokee County. We used to go down to Mapleton, Timber Ridge, Casena, and ride bikes down there and stuff, and that's not allowed, because of the noise, and it's just doesn't work, and all of them have had them parks, and they've closed them because it's just you know, it makes ruts in trails, it washes trails, and horses, my landlord rode on 200 acres down by Larrabee for years. He'd go down there once a week, check cows, look at the wildlife, you know, and stuff. And he went down there, he bought a 40 acres, took a D8 cat down in there, a day and a half, he was riding his horse on the trails. And it was an 8-foot wide trail through the thickest timber that you could think of. And he had me go down there and spray it every year and maintain it for him. But it was just, this doesn't take long if, you know, you get the right,
We're talking a quarter, half mile at most.
yeah.
Mr.
No,
Chair.
I think.
Our Zoom meeting is going to end in about a
I'm not the one who
minute.
said $5, so I'll sit down and talk.
Our
to you.
Zoom meeting is going to end.
You should probably tell the person online.
So,
And I have Waterman Prairie is
Dennis,
2,020 acres.
Dennis, we got time out for a second.
our Zoom meeting is only, has a lot of time up to 11:30, so it's going to drop us.
Yep.
We do have one person left that's
I'll put this up on.
of the public, so,
Okay.
to the person online, Mary Red, he
Okay.
said she would post this.
So, it will be on the O'Brien County Bell site
Okay, Brian, you can
in its
email
entirety.
the
The whole
recording of it.
meeting.
Yeah, I'm not sure it is, it just says iPad. Okay, sorry Dennis, but we wanted to let
Nope,
somebody
that's
online
good.
know what's happening.
Because, yeah, I have Waterman Prairie at 2,020 acres. You know, the DNR has Waterman Creek, which is 223 acres, and Williams Wetlands another 120, plus the 942 that the county actually has. So there's over, 3,500 acres down there for the public's enjoyment. And we just got to make sure that the public is all involved, that they know about this, and that it's not, I know this little niche of ground that I could.
Dennis, can I speak to the county, not the county ground,
Yep,
the DNR
I'm
ground?
done.
Dennis, you have, can I say?
Oh, go for it.
Dennis, you have to remember that out of that 962, 160 is Dog Creek, 160 is Mill Creek.
Yep.
20 some are Dalma, so on and so forth.
And they're all
So really,
wildlife
when you're
refuges.
when you're looking at usable ground,
Yeah,
it's the half section where the nature center is.
that's right.
Or Rugman area, maybe we could expand that. That was offered. So we can take a look at that too.
Mhm.
And I have dove into the DNR ground, and as it turns out, we have the unique privilege of having some undisturbed prairie that has rare prairie plants. So the DNR is very protective of them. So.
But there has to be,
Oh, I know, I'm not
we're looking at
saying.
2,500 acres. There's these, I don't think people are asking for, Sioux County has it, Cherokee
Dennis.
County has it. We have, all our catching counties have something for that.
And the
We have,
Dennis.
we have zero.
I know, and we're working toward that, we've
Yeah.
said that, but we can't control what the DNR allows on their land. We can very strongly make suggestions, we can go and meet with them, we can take a walk on the DNR ground with them and show them where we think it could work alongside of those plants to keep them protected, allow this. But at the end of the day, we can't control DNR ground, so we can only really control that 900 plus acres, so.
And that's really, I think, all the group has ever asked
Yes,
is,
sir.
we'd like that board, the conservation board, to try and find avenues instead of roadblocks. And
Yeah,
that's kind of how it's been, rather than going to the DNR. I mean, we can do that as a group, but we feel the Conservation Commission has volunteered their work to do conservation work, and I think that's part of their job.
I know, and we're finding roadblocks, and we're trying to find ways around them and not just do it in a way that this is a temporary solution or a mediocre solution, because honestly, I want a place where you guys can ride horses. I'm hoping to wear my husband back down to let me have another horse again, and I'm gonna need a place to ride it. So, I wanna see that happen, but I don't wanna put a trail together that's not the best we can do, or even close to what the best we can do. And I think that's how you guys, I can't really speak for you
I
guys.
told Dave the other day, let's sit down and chat about it. Let's work it out. If the board, I don't think the the board would disagree, I don't know, they're gonna have to vote on it, I don't make the decision. But if they make the decision to pay back that money, we'll figure it out. We'll put the signage up, and come spring, we'll have a policy, you can ride your horses. I mean, that's the best I can do. I don't vote for them.
No, I understand that. I'm not trying to pick on you, Brian.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's the way it works.
Yeah, I think they just need a little nudge on finding a different vision than it has been. Would be my opinion, I guess. It's just like the Crosby land, that's all wonderful and fine and dandy, but it serves 2% of the population of the county.
Right.
It doesn't serve 98%, it's blocked off. And it was a good thing that they did that and made it available for you. But I think that 2% of the population probably could have shot.
And that's not our land.
Another place. No, I know that.
It's Crosby's land.
But it's a cost to us to manage it.
Yeah, some. I'm not disagreeing with that. Some, we do some mowing, we do some burning, some stuff out there. Yeah, I agree.
But down the road, you want to purchase it.
That's a possibility, but who knows if that's going to happen.
Yes, Dan.
It's been a really good meeting.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to us.
We need to have more of this. You know what I mean? Where openly, without huge criticism from from either side, let's continue this. Here, conservation board meetings, general discussions, because it doesn't help keep things pent up or allow people to keep it pent up. This has been very good, I think. I hear a lot. I hear pretty much everything. I've heard bits and pieces of a lot of this discussion. This was very good. It let me hear more of it from multiple people, everybody included. Just need to continue this and continue an era of working for the taxpayers and towards what the taxpayers want. And giving options and trying to do, there's going to be times things can't be done, but there's times they can. And we need to continue to look for these options. And I highly suspect we will. So, I've had everything under the sun told to me, demanding of me. Well, I hear these things, and there's only certain things I have any say in. And it's good for all of us to hear this, I think. So, I appreciate it from everybody. So, let's continue this. Let's continue these kinds of discussions. And hopefully we don't have any more of the bad feelings towards all this, to say it very nicely. So, I don't think this all started as a horse deal.
It didn't on my part, for sure.
Right. But through various reasons, it became that. So it's here. And it's necessary. We'll find a way. So, going forward, I'd like to hear more of this.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
Thank you. That's what's going to make the county better.
Yep.
I just want to point out one thing. Patty, you have the hand gestures down just right.
Oh, I talk I just do.
No writing. It was just right. It's exactly.
I have time behind my back, I don't think I can talk. Okay.
I couldn't even see you. Mass, I could.
You're still gonna work for it, right?
You know, my volunteer basis, I'm terrible with them, so I gotta work with that.
Just so I know, I'm right there. I'm trying to find the options, so I'm writing down.
Okay, so you're connected to the
Oh,
Well, it'd be nice if we could adjourn. Yeah, that's surprising. Do you have anything else, or?
Now look twice, Ron. I saw you.
You want to call for?
Are we adjourned or not?
Well, somebody needs to make a motion.
I make a
if you're
motion to
gonna-
adjourn.
I'll second.
Seconded by Nancy, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I can't.
We're
I
adjourned.
can't pick up.
They decided that there's special grasses in that too, and for, and as long as they're there, they know I'm taking care of it. So now I can graze until Thanksgiving, and the hunters just have to do that.
What do you think? I just put this last word on there.
Oh, and go down all right. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry.
And that's what we gotta do something.
I think I helped one years ago, a building down there.